Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. As you can guess from the title, we're talking about solo leveling chapter 1, 2, 3. I did miss last week, so I was meaning to get around to it, I just never did. So I want to make sure I definitely do it this week, otherwise I'll get out of the habit of doing it. Without further ado, let's get into this review. So, before we can get into chapter 1, 2, 3, I need to cover what basically happens in 1, 2, 2. And I will keep this brief because this is really supposed to be about 1, 2, 3. So, 1, 2, 2. The chunk of the chapter is really about what essentially Jin-Woo does in this A-class dungeon. He uses his shadows to do the damage and has no problems. So that's essentially the chapter in itself. But there are tidbits I want to discuss. Number one, there's a lot of fans before going inside this new dungeon or gate, and it's because of the picture posted by Jin-Woo's partner's cousin, and essentially it's on all over social media. So because she's a popular, I'm guessing she's some type of influencer or personality, like a type of celebrity. This has obviously brought more attention to Jin-Woo as well, with how him really thinking about it. Then when they do go in to the gate, the assistant to the main guy for the Hunter Association, Jin-Woo Chal or Jin Chul-wal, we'll call him Jin, with really nice armor, I might say, tags along, and to his surprise, his face kind of explains everything. He's really surprised, and when he reports back to the head of the Hunter Association, he says it wasn't a raid, it was a one-sided massacre. And one thing I did really like about this is Igris really got to shine. Last time we got to see Beru shine. This time we're getting to see Igris shine. There's also, Iron and Tusk probably around somewhere, but I like that, and the fact that one of the person that carried out the boss's body was like all embarrassed because he was getting his pictures taken was even more hilarious. And essentially he defeated the A-class boss himself, one-shotted him, leveled up, and got a new member to his crew. With leveling up beyond 100, this improved his techniques, which brings his shadow exchange down to 2 hours cooldown rather than 3, which hopefully will then lead him down the line to hopefully get close to a few seconds and be able to dart around the world wherever his shadows are. That being said, right at the end of the chapter, we see that in Japan, Tokyo, Japan, the scars darken, the bringing of an omen, and a gate's basically appeared in Tokyo, Japan. So, moving on to chapter 1, 2, 3. Chapter 1, 2, 3 basically carries on from this. Japan is kind of sweating buckets right now, and if you think back to Jeju Island, the main guild that essentially had all the S-class hunters, where Goto got killed and a lot of members of the S-class got killed, this has severely affected how their power or the politics in Japan is, and they're starting to get looked down on, which gets them to sweat a little bit. Now they do mention a few people that they want to bring in. The first person that they want to bring in is an S-class hunter called Thomas Andre, and they kind of shy away from this, saying, can we really afford him? And before that they mention about a national level hunter. Now there's a bit of confusion about this, but the particular level of this, I may have misunderstood this, but it originally sounded like they were talking about an S-class, but later on it sounds like an A-class, but I'm going to assume it's an S-class, and that's why they mentioned national level hunters, because from my understanding, a national level hunter is a person who's actually defeated an S-class outbreak gate or gate in general. That being said, they said they can't afford Thomas Andre, but they're going to bring in a person who essentially is a gate specialist called Yuri Orlov. You see at the end of the chapter they do eventually meet him, and he basically asks for 3.6 billion a year or 10 million a day. He isn't asking for a lot, but the fact that they can approach him and afford him but not afford Thomas Andre leads me to believe that this guy isn't a national level hunter, he's just an S-class hunter, and because of that he's technically cheaper. Whether he is based on the sum, I don't know, but that is actually some crazy figures that they've pumped out. In terms of Jin-Woo though, Jin-Woo is actually kind of funny. There was a section of him with Chai-In, and they have a discussion. Essentially the person that was the healer, the S-class healer that died, who was resurrected and saved Chain at the time of the Jeju Island kind of raid. He basically had a conversation with her saying that when he was brought back to life, the power wasn't technically him, but he couldn't help but serve. So he was said to be careful of that power, it might not really be his. And it kind of cuts out, so I'm assuming he's going to talk about the whole thing with the Shadow Monarch, and him being the Shadow Monarch, if it hasn't been made obvious already. And then we basically go to Jin-Woo. Now, I laugh because of his reaction, but he's having a conversation with his right hand chum, the vice captain of the guild, and he's like, you should check on your sister. So he uses a technique where he's basically sharing, like empathy, sharing the same view as his shadows, and he checks in on and he's fine. You can see that Biru's basically watching some weird TV which has affected his language, and then he's kind of going through everybody else, and then he sees Chayin in the bath and he's like, oh no, and he starts blushing, and it's kind of cute to see him blush because A, he's seeing a naked lady, so he's like, ooh la la, and B, he's had that natural reaction, so he is still human even though other people don't treat him as such. So that was kind of cute and funny at the same time because he naturally blushed, and a lot of people on the solo leveling probably meme the hell out of that. I'd imagine they're a funny bunch. That being said, it's a good little chapter, and one of the key things that we are reminded of in this chapter is the key that he got at level 100, because he's a level 101 now. He's considering what will happen at level 102, and he's thinking about that temple with the statue. There was conversation by those other people that came on Jeju Island. They mentioned the architect, so there's a lot of different things going on, and Jin-Woo's dad is fighting them as well, so it's not really made clear at this point in the the actual webtoon or this kind of manga, without kind of going over light novel spoilers. So these are things that are linked together, so we're going to find out, because they did say those two fellows that essentially the architect's going to take care of the Shadow Monarch or something, so I'm assuming it's him, although I haven't really read much of the light novel to know exactly what the case is, but I don't want to spoil myself. So he does want to go back there. However, my thought in this situation is, if you could level up more, make your ability stronger, then it'd be easier to take care of that person, if it's a god or an architect or a monster or whatever class it is. I don't know, but it'd be easier, I thought. But nevertheless, it kind of leaves things in that sense, where we find out about this guy winning his money. That's kind of where the chapter ends. But we also know that the Jin-Woo has been contacted about this gate. But right now he's got bigger fish to fry. So we'll see where this goes. I would like him to go over there, and being that he's technically a national class hunter now, although it's probably unofficial at this stage, I do really want to see him on the world stage, going to Japan, going to China, going to, I think it was India, it was a place, Brazil, and hopefully to America, which they want him there anyway because there was a ruin there, and I'm sure he can use that ruin to get a skill if he does decide to go there. And then his father's running around somewhere as well. When is that reunion going to take place? There's a lot of open leads, and hopefully we're going to find out. I was thinking as well, before I go, the national level hunter that's from China that we've seen the back of, will he get involved in this as well? Loads of questions. That being said, exciting times, things to look forward to, and yeah, we're back, solo leveling. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.